Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah!
I'll just talk louder.
Okay. So, did you listen to the first episode?
I did. It was cool.
It was cool.
I like the part where we talked about Batman. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Sean's not with us this week due to unforeseen circumstances. Hopefully this won't be a recurring theme where Sean's only present every other episode. But we got Paul here with us.
Hi everybody, my name is Paul, or Bob and Fishy on YouTube.
He does the Pokemans.
And some other stuff, but, whatever. Nobody ever knows me for any of that other stuff. So,
Well, now they do.
Woo! Go team.
So Paul, do you know about this Batman project?
Actually, yeah. Otto used to talk about it all the time, because one of the Batman Revenant, which it was semi sort of kind of jumbled with, was half my idea. I can say that.
Yeah, that originally him and I in high school had planned to make a live action Batman movie, which for the moment is on the shelf, but eventually we will work on that. But this, since we actually had some idea what we were doing when we got into this one, this is where we're shifting our focus to for the moment.
So get excited for in about 6 years from now, Project Batman 2. Well, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I know last week we said we would have our 5 sentences prepared, our paragraph of our summaries prepared, but they're with Sean, and they're not present.
Yeah. So we wrote them. We don't have them. So
we'll get to those next week, and we'll just talk about other shit right now.
Off the record, did you end up actually finishing yours?
No.
But I can't believe that out of the three of us, Sean managed to write his paragraph before you did.
Well, I was prepared to... We'll just keep this on the record. I'm prepared to defend this because I got a surprise job offer like a week ago.
Right.
And since then, I've been working full-time at 2 separate jobs. And I don't know. There's been a lot on my plate right now. And I just got up today. I finally got up episode 1. So, if you're listening to this on episode 4, that's how far ahead in time we are. You're basically time traveling with your ears right now, people.
It's like, you ever listen to a recording of, like, President Roosevelt in World War II saying something or other? This is basically that.
It's like a good old-fashioned fireside chat.
Just in the future.
Computer side chat, eh?
I don't know what.
Oh, no, wait, hold up. Because the the computer would be the radio in this scenario. So it would be like, what else did they have other than radios and fires back then? And what do we have to correspond with it now?
Polio.
Yeah,
and
be like a polio side chat. So now we have like AIDS side chat. That's what I got. That's my input here.
Fair enough. But I also did manage to record the theme song and get that done this week.
That you did.
So while neither of you guys recorded a theme song,
I
did do that.
He just called you guys out. I'm just gonna say right now, like, your lack of theme song is startling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I done goofed.
Indeed.
Hopefully mine is sufficient.
I helped write it.
You did. That was on the last episode. Or I might have cut that out. I don't remember. Either way, here we are now.
Yep.
So back to the time traveling thing.
Back to the time traveling thing. Which is sort of relevant. We're time traveling back to a time in Bruce's past.
Yeah.
Because you guys already know about Batman Beyond, I assume.
We've been talking about it quite a lot these past couple of weeks.
We have. So let's start with what you called me about the other day, about what you found out about the suit. Because last week we had determined that we couldn't use the suit and that he would have to be working on it in our script. But since we found out what?
All right, in the episode, I think it's the series finale of Justice League, not Unlimited, but the first Justice League series is the episode Star-Crossed. It's a 3-parter. In this, Hot Girl ends up sort of betraying
Hot Girl? I'm sorry.
Hot Girl. No, not hot like attractive, but hawk like bird.
I know.
So
Hawk like wears a big golden mask
that's-
that's like twice the size of her head.
That's just what I heard.
And talons everywhere. Just
All of the talons.
She's a very talented girl.
Oh, I get it. Oh, it's a pun. I get it.
All right, that's it, and that's Project Batman. It was
Sounds fishy to me.
It was great while it lasted. But yeah, Hot Girl betrays the Justice League, and they all have to go into hiding. They eventually end up at the Batcave, where, of course, Hot Girl ambushes them. But as it turns out, it's not really Hot Girl's fault and all that crap. But in the Batcave, in the background, you'll see the glass cases that you see in Batman Beyond that have the suits and the Batsuit and Robin's suit and Batgirl's suit and all those things. You see those. Now, in the 5th case is the suit from Batman Beyond. Now, it's different in really the only way that it's really different is that the symbol on it and the utility belt are actually yellow as opposed to the red and gray. But that said, the suit itself did actually exist not just in 2009, but prior to it. Now, how I feel like writing this together is I'm thinking we still do the development of the suit, and that suit that he had there was some sort of new prototype that he was working on and shelved and decided to bring back onto the table, or perhaps that was a specialized suit. Perhaps it's possible that it could be an updated version of the fireproof Batsuit that he used in Torch Song when he fought Firefly. The costumes, when you look at them, are incredibly similar. So it's reasonable to believe that there's a relation to that, and I mean we'll hammer out the fine details later. But point being, the Beyond suit can make an appearance in this movie, unlike we previously thought.
Sweet.
Another thing. And I watched a little tiny bit of it today, just like a few minute snippet, because I was doing some research about Project Batman Beyond. This was mentioned in the Justice League Unlimited episode Epilogue, where Amanda Waller uses her connections at Project Cadmus to create a successor to Batman by obtaining his DNA, then injecting said DNA into Terry McGinnis' father, who would give birth to Terry McGinnis, who is actually biologically Bruce Wayne's son, not Terry McGinnis' son. It was kind of a mind fuck. You gotta watch the episode. But in this, it shows a scene of Batman sitting in the back of an ambulance because they're talking about getting his DNA. He's sitting in an ambulance and he's bandaged up and there's a bloody rag on the ground, and some sketchy looking guy comes up, picks it up, and puts it in a little vial. Now, most of the research that I've found suggests that this takes place shortly after 2009. However, it's not exactly clear when it happens. So, it's possible that it could actually... and Batman is in the old suit, the one we're familiar with from Justice League. So, basically, there are some things that have been defined, but they're vague enough to where we can sort of retcon without really damaging anything. It's not like we're contradicting anything. We're just saying, okay, this... It's a flashback that they didn't say what year it took place in. It's just assumed, really by the DCAU wiki, that it took place in the early 2010s somewhere. Mm-hmm. But theoretically speaking, it could have taken place earlier than that. We don't honestly know.
So it gives you a bit of wiggle room there.
Right, and that's something that we're really fortunate to work with on this project. The specific event we're working with, we do have a lot of wiggle room as far as we can go pretty much anywhere we want with the story and still be within our confines. Like, there are characters that just don't appear later on. These are characters that can die on screen, and we won't. I mean,
you won't be directly contradicting any, or actually contradicting in any way. So
right.
You're pretty much given free reign with those kind of characters.
Yeah, and I think I had said last week, like, it's minor details don't matter, but then you sort of, I don't know, you made a good point. That is, we have so much free space to do what we want that there's no reason to contradict anything. Like, exactly. if we can't squeeze a great story out of the opportunities, the millions of open opportunities that we have, then there's a problem.
Yeah, that's a nice thing that DC does. They do give you enough wiggle room to, write your own little stories about their stuff, and they do give you plenty of opportunities to put these stories in without contradicting their works in any way. So that's always good.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you can go, the alternate universes, and there's all a million of them and everything, but those are never as fun. You like to have it in your standard universe. So I do like that. I'm not hugely familiar with this project, but it does sound like from your not huge comic book fans perspective, it's definitely something that's like, okay, well, that sounds within the realm of possibility that okay, I can get on board with this. Mm-hmm. I think that's always good.
And really, people watching or reading a comic or set in the comic universe, they're the only time they're ever going to say, I mean, if they're fans of the genre, the only time that they're ever going to say, hey, that can't happen, is if it's out of character or out of continuity.
Right. And that's something that we're going to be very careful on when we write this, especially dialogue-wise. Everyone has to act the way they would normally act.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep with their characters. That's always one of the most important things with any well-written or well put together anything.
I was thinking about this, about how yes, we need to stay true to the character. Of course, blanket statement, always stay true to your characters. But I think with this specific story we're telling, we have a cool opportunity to show Bruce Wayne in a predicament that we're not used to seeing him in, and that is, it's the near apocalypse. The world is at stake, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just... I feel like when I see Batman in Gotham, I never see him scared of anything. Batman knows he can handle it. Even if he's worried, even if he doesn't have a plan, he has pretty much faith that he can take care of it on the fly. He knows the city. He knows, like, he's just got it taken care of. But now, Raish's plan and what's going on has led to, like, these apocalyptic standards, and Batman is not a man with superpowers like Superman. So he has a lot more on his shoulders, a lot more riding in this battle than any other he's faced so far. So I thought one of the notes that Film Crit Hulk gave on his screenplay advice is that it's always more interesting, and we can relate to a character more if they're not perfect. And his shining example is Indiana Jones. And to me, even before reading any of this, all my life Indiana Jones has seemed like the perfect real hero to me. Like, and we all can relate to him because in every situation, I mean, it's just like Batman. He doesn't really know what he's going to do, but unlike Batman, he's kind of scared. I think 90% of the time that Indy isn't like in front of a classroom or just meeting with some people, he's kind of scared. And I think that would be an interesting angle to show Batman or Bruce truly worried about, what if I can't handle this? And then the ultimate climax of the story, bringing him to a place where he can do that. And I just want to know how you feel about that.
Well, first thing, I'm going to put the rabbit away.
Okay.
I have a little point on this. That is actually one of the best things that you can do for a character like that, where you know their values, you know what they would do. So you try to take those values and push them to the extremes to make a scenario where this character is not only like in peril themselves, but having a sort of like, you know, a crisis of faith, a moral type of thing. You know, that's always the best kind of struggle, is not man versus environment, but man versus self. Mm-hmm. And you know, of course, you're going to have the Batman, you know, having his you know, he's always got those morals, but it would be interesting to see how far you can push them, mm-hmm. and you know, how far the character himself, Bruce Wayne, can be pushed and still stick to this.
Yeah, I would just love to see him, even for one moment, have doubt.
That would be a very interesting angle, because you're right, he really does always seem to be... So, even if he is worried, he's calm, collected, and knows how to handle the situation, or at least, you know, can come up with a good idea. He's very smart, and he can come up with a good idea for how to handle pretty much any situation on the fly. So, yeah, I do like that. That's a really... I'm trying to think of how I can word this. You had a point?
Actually, my thought on it is, there needs to be some sort of character struggle, especially a lot of it that from what I know of the story that we're doing is, at least with the dialogue at the end, there's going to be a struggle between him and Talia, mm-hmm. because, you know, he loves Talia, Talia loves him, but Talia also loves her father, despite the horrible monster he is, and it definitely wears on Bruce that this woman I love loves this guy who literally just slaughtered like a third of the world's population or something like that. That was another thing I wanted to bring up. Recently, it was like last weekend before, I watched all 7 episodes in the DC animated universe where Ra's al Ghul appears. And I noticed a little bit of characterization to him that realized that we picked a great villain for this. Basically, it was the second episode of a 2-parter in which Batman's first real encounter with Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is describing his plan. His original plan is, okay, there's these Lazarus pits all over the world. What we're going to do is we're going to have these satellite synchronized bombs, blow them up, and then wash the earth with the chemicals. It's going to kill a bunch of people. The world's going to take itself back from humanity. And Batman says to him, he's like, You're an absolute madman. That'll cost countless lives. And Ra's al Ghul simply turns to him and replies, actually, we have counted. 2,858,566,000.
Damn.
And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah, but he's... I mean, you almost have to wonder if really he is, though. I mean, you've got someone who's so calm and calculated like that. I mean, they're doing something insane, but he seems... I mean, Ra's al Ghul doesn't seem to me like he's unstable in any way. And really, there's probably a fine line between insane and unstable. But he's definitely a stable.
Well, isn't that the definition of what a sociopath is?
Yeah, it's like you're not really scared of the crazy person who you know is crazy. It's the ones who you don't know, and that's always that's a thing with his character that, you know, while you do know that he's like he has these goals, and you know that he will go to any length to you know, see them through, and that's always kind of the what's been the draw of that character. What's so scary and what's so haunting about him, really.
This isn't related to this. I'm going off on a tangent here, but
that's what we do.
this is how it works. We discussed that what Ra's al Ghul is doing is that he's created a sort of anti-Lazarus serum sort of thing that causes instant violent aging into dust and kills people violently. But it doesn't destroy anything else other than just living tissue. So, you know, you can leave, you know, buildings and everything relatively intact.
Does that mean he's trying to kill animals?
I don't know.
Let's not address that.
We'll work on that later. But I've narrowed it down to two possible names for this. I don't want to call it something simply like Anti-Lazarus or Project X or Serum X or something silly like that.
Yeah. Gotta love the Serum X's, but they do sound cheesy.
Chemical X.
Oh boy.
The ooze.
Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
He should make an appearance.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I did a little bit of research into what exactly the Lazarus Pit was, who it was named after, so on and so forth. I don't know much about the Bible, but the Lazarus Pits are named after Saint Lazarus, who was I think he was one of Jesus' apostles or somebody. He was somebody who knew Jesus, and he was dying. I guess he had something similar to leprosy, and he died. And 4 days later, Jesus brought him back to life. Well, that was Lazarus, and thus the Lazarus Pit, something that brings someone back from the dead.
Very good, yeah.
I went and found the antithesis of this. I was looking for some sort of angel of death sort of thing. The first thing that popped up was Santa Muerta, which didn't sound very good.
Yeah, I don't particularly like that either.
Did find, though, that one of there's an old Hebrew word called Abaddon, or Abaddon, something like that.
Abaddon,
that's it. You've got that. It means destruction, and it was the name used to refer to a harbinger of death, an angel of death in Armageddon, Book of Revelations, during the apocalypse.
Very nice.
I have to interrupt you for a second and just say how cool it is that you are bringing this information to me, because, side note, you guys you know how obsessed with Lost I am.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Have you seen Lost?
No.
Okay. There's a character named Matthew Abaddon who, for a long time, is very mysterious, and you don't know what side he's on, and he ends up being like, he works for the big bad guy, and yeah, that's just very interesting. like I know that connection now. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it's but yeah, and I'm glad you know how it's pronounced, because I thought the pronunciation of Baden was not good. But the it's also referred to as Apollyon. That's the Greek word for it. And I was thinking either something to do with Abaddon or Apollyon as the name of this reverse engineered Lazarus stuff. And symbolically, it sounds great. And it's dealing with the apocalypse itself, and it's also the antithesis of what Lazarus is. So it's full circle there.
Yeah, let's use that. I like it. Hey, why do you think... right before I came over here, I just watched what you told me is the last appearance of Ra's al Ghul in the DCAU before the Batman Beyond episode. Mm-hmm. So it's the last thing we know of Ra's before the near apocalypse of 2009. And the last time we see him, he just basically falls off a cliff into a river with Talia, right?
I've actually thought about this, but keep going.
Well, first of all, isn't it crazy how bad guys can always somehow coordinate a giant electrical situation out in the middle of nowhere for their...
Totally, yeah.
They're always got, like, wizard electricians on call whenever they need them. But
yo, Mario. Hey, it's Raish. I need another one of those. Desert generators. You got one, right?
Well, how is your face? We need electricity to power the working lives of about 700 henchmen. Yeah, $30. Love that.
Now, is there any record of anyone else ever using the Lazarus Pit? Because I just find it, if there's...
Actually, there were... Ra's was one of the only people who actually survived his exposure to the Lazarus Pit. But a lot of them go insane and actually end up dying due to exposure of that. So it's not like... Yeah, it usually kills the people who are exposed.
Okay, so you've sort of answered my question, and off of that, I was thinking at some point in this story, since Ra's is our big bad, we can use him a lot. There can be a time where, I don't know, he's talking to Batman, and we need to have something explained, and it would be an awesome opportunity to explain maybe an origin story. Does he have an origin? Has there been a flashback depicted?
Yes. This is another thing I looked up. In the comics, in the DCAU it's kind of fuzzy, but in the comics, what happened is somewhere early 1400s, Ra's al Ghul had a wife named Sora, and Sora was, I believe, the daughter of this wealthy sultan. Now, over the years, Ra's al Ghul had been searching for the fabled Lazarus Pit, and the sultan died. And what happened was, for some reason or another, he had to take the sultan to the Lazarus Pit. Threw the sultan in. The sultan went insane and killed Sora. Now, what happened was the person who was above the Sultan, not wanting to, jail the Sultan for the murder, instead framed Ra's for it, so as not to make the Sultan look bad. And Ra's was sentenced to die in a cell with his wife's corpse as punishment. A young village boy helped him escape because I guess he had healed his grandmother or something beforehand. It was, like I said, I'm trying to quote from memory here, and I don't exactly remember it. And that was sort of how Ra's al Ghul discovered the Lazarus Pit and then eventually went on to use it himself.
Okay.
So it wasn't originally for his own benefit. I didn't know that.
And that's all coming out of the comics.
Right.
And has straight up not been depicted in the DCAU.
Correct.
That's awesome. Because it would just be awesome to depict. I'm sure we could find a reason to have a flashback to something about that would make Raish seem that much like, whether it's a moment that makes him seem crazy, or we get some sort of understanding as to why he's doing something in that moment. It would just be awesome to give him a little more story in that way.
Okay, I have a question, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the Near Apocalypse of 09, I again haven't been involved with any of these podcasts before. I haven't even seen them. Sorry.
It's only the first one was only released about 6 hours ago.
Okay, then, so I don't feel so bad. So for your Ra's al Ghul, is he going to be attempting one of his famous trying to cleanse the earth and leave some people alive and yada yada yada, or is he just wanting to kill everybody?
It's very systematic. Like I said, we're in pretty early stages of writing here, but he wants to eliminate at least most of the human race.
How awesome or badass or evil or whatever you want to call it would it be if he was like describing his plan and he said something along the lines like early in the conversation someone asked him something about like why can't you, like Bruce said something to him earlier, like maybe about how why can you not accept death, why can you not be happy with what you have, and like if he said something like, because I have to fulfill my destiny, and once everyone else is gone, then will I only feel like I have peace to rest.
I actually really like that. But one thing, the term destiny always comes off as cheesy to me all the time.
Well, I'm not writing exact dialogue right now.
I'm just saying. It would be a lot cooler if it was I haven't achieved my goal or something like that.
Or
his
he
mission.
believes that's his purpose.
That's always like, I mean, I'm just saying like that's got to be it. Like, make a point not to use the word destiny simply because that always sounds so cheesy. So
well, he can just say that's the reason. That's the reason I was put here.
Yeah,
or something.
And it'll make him seem a lot more systematic and like more like a plan rather than just kind of divine purpose. I like the idea, since he's trying to kill a lot of people, maybe he doesn't think of himself as being like a harbinger of greater things, but rather this is his plan that, like more or less putting himself, he still considers himself a mortal man, even though he's really not. Mm-hmm. And he wants to put himself not in the shoes of a god, but a mortal leading his own cause, like creating his own purpose. But I kind of like the idea of him not accepting the idea of destiny. That as humans, we create our own course. I always thought that was more the cooler kind of bad guy. The ones who rather than just accepting that they're part of something bigger, they want to, I don't know, maybe make the world smaller.
I get what you're saying, and that's what, like, to me, the whole idea of like everything happens for a reason versus everything is random. Like, it's all just a matter of perspective. To me, the person who says, it's my destiny, my purpose, I have to do this, and then there's another guy that says, well, I see all this happening, and because this is happening, I think that has to be done, so I should do this to make it better. Or worse, in Raish's case. Yeah. Either way, they both believe they're supposed to do something. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of how you look at life.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, you were bringing up, and I really hate to do this, you were bringing up the Ra's al Ghul origin story and as far as incorporating it into our movie. Mm-hmm. I like it. The problem is Dark Knight Rises just did that. Not maybe, because like they don't delve into Ra's himself, like any sort of Lazarus pit or whatever, that in the novelization it's mentioned that he is looking for a pit of something. But it's like, but they did go into sort of his past.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know if, at least for the purposes of this movie, I don't know if his past is really important here.
Well, to understand who he is and why he's there. And like, again, it was just an idea that hit me in the moment that I was throwing out there. It doesn't need to be depicted. Whatever works best. If it doesn't work, then whatever. But I'm just saying, it just gives you a broader sense of who somebody is, even if it's like a line or even like just 2 sentences. Why are you doing this? Or what happened to you to make you do this? And just a little, like, since it's not in the DC animated universe, I feel like we have an opportunity just to give him a sliver of something that wasn't there before.
I actually just had a really cool idea for a scene. So you were just saying something about how, you know, the guy, like maybe Batman or something, is like, why are you doing this? You know, that sort of thing. I had an idea. It goes to a little flashback, only a few seconds, of your basic Ra's al Ghul origin story. And it kind of fades to white as it's going through kind of like little snippets or maybe just still images. It fades to white, and he says something about how he's casting off the shadow of what he used to be, and that he's going to be returning the world to what he believes it should be. And to that end, my past is not important.
That sounds like something he would say.
It does, and I felt like, because I've written a little bit of dialogue for him in some practice scenes, and I feel like, especially after watching him, I have a really good idea of how he speaks, like what sort of, how he assembles his words.
Yeah, I mean, I love the samples you gave us last time. It was awesome.
And the thing is that he talks the same way that I write when I'm writing an essay.
It's so direct and like, yeah.
I mean, it's very to the point. He doesn't go off on tangents like we do.
But economy is a big thing in the world of comics, especially in that universe of like, I feel like every scene is so much information and so like there is character development, but the character that they show in every scene is for the plot, like, but it's all like economical. Like there are no tangents, and like, yeah, that's just cool.
Oh, and something I wanted to get down here, well, it's still fresh in my mind, is I wanted to bring up how I think Talia and Ra's should be scooted into the story. The last time we see them, Ra's is distracted by Talia about to fall to her death and decides to stop fighting Superman in order to save her. This dooms them both. I mean, of course, they don't die because they're still here and they show up later. But it dooms the plan. Now, Ra's al Ghul, during this whole plan thing, was trying to get Superman's powers transferred to him. The transfer was not completed. However, it did work somewhat. Matter of fact, I've found mention of this. It was because of that encounter, he got just enough strength from Superman to at least be able to use the Lazarus Pit again. This I've actually found out. I've found this stated that allowed him to keep going.
Well, he became more powerful than he ever was in that episode, didn't he?
Right.
Because of Superman?
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing, but he's still, due to the fact that he is 600 years old, the Lazarus Pit, the effects of the Lazarus Pit do wear off quickly. So, but basically, what happens is this, at least as far as my brainstorming goes. Raish and Talia fall off the cliff into the river below.
Mm-hmm.
They eventually escape. They make it to safety. And Raish says, we need to part ways. I can't have you near my plans anymore. It is because of my love for you that this plan failed.
Yeah, Superman used that against him.
Exactly. He said, that is a weakness to me. And I can't have that if my goals are to be achieved.
He's such a shitty dad.
Well, remember, he eventually kills her.
No, I know.
But yeah, he's like, go find your own way in life. I'll do the same. And reluctantly she obeys. Skip forward about this story probably takes place about, I don't know, 8 years after that, something like that. But what happens is that after the apocalypse thing has already started, the Abaddon serum has been administered and killed millions. I mean, Paris, Hong Kong, places like sterilized. Now, I have to come up with a reason, and I had a good one a while back, but there's a reason that he hasn't attacked Gotham City, Metropolis, and Sean brought up Central City, which is where the Flash is from. It'd make sense to have a reference to that there are more cities, so... Mm-hmm. But he thought that'd be kind of cool to sort of, if not bring the Flash character in there himself, just sort of make a reference to him.
That was one thing I was going to get to.
My dude!
That's one thing I was going to get to that I guess since you said that I was going to ask now is, do we want to include any of the other heroes?
No. And...
even in the apocalypse.
Basically, what's happening is nobody knows what happened
to
these cities. I mean, all that they know is suddenly,
it's just gone.
Yeah, like almost 1 billion people are just gone, dead. You see nothing in these cities. The cities are pristine. Except, you see the occasional, scattered bits of clothing that haven't been blown away in the wind. You got all that stuff. There's no scorch marks. There's no trails. I mean, there's, you see cars crashed where people, were killed driving. And, but, nobody knows what is going on. These cities, as a result, have been quarantined.
And that's how we get the detective aspect in with Batman.
Exactly.
Is he has to figure it out.
That's exactly where I was going with that. That he has to figure it out. And when Talia shows up and explains, I think my father's behind this. We need to go to one of these quarantine sites, obtain some samples, see what we can find out. And they do find out. Eventually they get a sample of the Abaddon serum. They finally find out. They do. I'm envisioning like a test where they finally get a sample of this stuff back to the Batcave, and they test some of it on living tissue, and it like violently stops being living tissue.
Right.
And Alfred, being present, is like, we need to contact the Justice League. This is beyond us. And Batman's like, no. This has to be just us. Because if this is as dangerous as this stuff is, if we have the entire Justice League fighting the cause of this, and they're wiped out, there will be no hope for the Earth.
We should have a scene where he lies to like Superman or something. So someone calls him. It's just like, do you know what's going on? No. Click.
That's good. I like that. I mean, we could totally do something like that. And but yeah, and that gives them sort of an excuse to go across the world. And I know that Bruce and Talia do date once in Milan. Their date is actually referenced. Even the dinner they had there is referenced. It's like roast pheasant or something like that.
We gotta depict it. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, that dinner will need to take place. And where the hell is Milan? Do you know?
Isn't that
no clue.
Isn't that where
it sounds like it's in Egypt somewhere or something? I don't know.
I was gonna try to make a bad joke about it. Isn't that where the Huns attacked with the talking dragon and the cricket?
But yeah, so it'll set up the opportunity for them to stop there. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was I don't have the paragraph with me, but I did want to bring up the scene. I realized, of course, this, as with everything, this is subject to change, but I realized I do want Alfred to die in the story.
I was going to say something about that, too.
You go first, because I'll remember mine.
Okay. And this is based off of what I was saying at the beginning of this episode, where Bruce needs a moment of doubt. And, okay, something's happening to Alfred. I don't know what it is yet. We haven't gotten that far. Alfred's going to die. He wasn't going to die in the beginning of our story. Something's happened. We know he's going to die. And he's dying close to the moment that Bruce is losing faith in himself. And Bruce is saying something to a dying Alfred about how this is too big for me. I'm just one man and I dedicated myself to Gotham, not the whole world. Who do I think I am? Can I really take this on? Maybe this is the way it's supposed to happen. Maybe we're not supposed to be here. Just like moments of doubt. He's saying to Alfred, the one person he can tell his feelings to and get his heart out. And that's how we give Alfred the ultimate going out moment. Is Alfred is that person that puts faith back in Bruce of being like, no, you have to do this. You can do this. I don't know what the exact dialogue would be, but right before he dies, he says something that makes Bruce realize he can do this. And that brings us into Act 3.
I was actually thinking this would be at the... this is going to be the end of... I think this was the end of Act 3 in mine. I was actually thinking a different direction with that, and I like that.
Or it brings us into the climax. Whatever.
My thing was, I want there to be an ambush in the Bat Cave shortly after they discover, oh shit, this is the serum. This is where the Clock King comes into play. Mm-hmm. Shortly before this, there's a scene where Ra's al Ghul somehow finds out that Batman and Talia are traveling the world trying to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. And he hires the Clock King and sends his henchman Ubu after him. That Sean brought it up that he doesn't think that Ra's al Ghul has enough respect and honor for Batman not to send henchmen after him to go kill him. But my point on that was, yeah, he has that honor, he has that respect for Batman. But he decides, at least in this case, he cannot afford to let that get in the way.
Right.
So
he's working on
the same thing he did to Talia.
Yeah, so
Right.
So over the course of the film, he'll be casting off all of his ties, all of his anything that could be keeping or could be holding him back. So not just his daughter, but also even in a sense the morals that he usually abides by. He's going to be more or less going through sort of like a change of heart. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's
awesome that we're figuring out ways to make this guy who's already so evil, who's evil at the beginning of the story and evil at the end of the story, to make him change, to have a character arc, even though he's not changing.
Right. I mean, it's really cool. But anyways, here was my idea on Alfred's death.
Okay.
My thing was, he's not dying throughout the entire thing. You know, basically, the ambush on the Batcave, you know, he has this little spat with the Clock King that we talked about in the last episode. And shortly after that, Ubu comes up, and I guess he throws a shuriken or a knife or something. Batman is actually not aware of this, and Alfred jumps in the way. And that's what makes it so sudden. Like, it's not alluded to. There's no foreshadowing of it. It is a shock. It is like it hits you like a truck.
I love it.
It hits you like a truck. And that sort of steers us away from the whole Batman and Robin, he's sick sort of thing, which I wanted to avoid.
Yeah, good point.
The dialogue that I wanted Alfred to have was simply this. Batman catches him as he falls. All Alfred has time to say before he dies is, your parents would be proud.
Otto, you're a genius. I love it.
That would be good.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the chills, you know? I get these when we talk about this stuff, but, is that a tear?
I saw you welling up. I knew it was going to be good.
But yeah, that was how I wanted Alfred to go out. And then that would set up, because, like, Batman, he actually sees Ubu having thrown the shuriken before he sees where it landed. And Ubu escapes. And then there will be a scene, I'm guessing there will be a scene later on, where Ubu is trapped, some sort of imminent death position, which he's been in before because he... something or other. But basically, Batman... he beckons to Batman for help. Unlike he did, like, Batman saved him before, but he didn't ask Batman, hey, save me. No, Batman just saved him without hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ubu is in some sort of imminent death sort of situation, and he beckons to Batman. And Batman hesitates. I mean, that's how deep this guy is. Like, you killed Alfred. I want you to die. Like, this is what you need to see in him, is that, no, you deserve this. Then his morals finally overcome him, and he goes to reach for Ubu, but then Ubu gets killed. And if it wasn't for the hesitation, Ubu would have still been alive.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. I don't know exactly how that would work. I'm thinking possibly have Raish kill him.
Raish is cutting ties all over the place.
But
you mind if I interrupt you here for a sec?
Go ahead.
I had a point that for, like you were saying earlier, about how, like, they were saying about, like, you know, shouldn't you ask the Justice League, you know, to help you? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, for that scene, rather than saying the Justice League, because, again, I don't know, I always think it, like, stuff like that sounds a little bit cheesy. Just refer, and since you're really not going to be interacting directly with them, you brought up that it would be Alfred that says that. Maybe he says something instead of the Justice League. Maybe it's just the others, like, you know, the other heroes, and this brings up the idea that they're there, but you're not, like, it's not going to be taking away from the fact that, like, Batman is the only one who can stop this from happening. Right. And it's like, it's not that, you know, it's not that, like, yeah, there's a whole group of people that's there to stop this. And it's like, even though they're kind of the last line of defense, maybe to have them as not, like, this, you know, like, shining knight, maybe they're just the others.
I like that, not for the reason that of cheesiness, because, I mean, if people are going into this movie, they know about the Justice League. I like it because if you mention anything in a story where economy is king, then people are going to expect it as setup. So maybe it's just not even say the words Justice League. We can allude to it.
Yeah.
Right. I do like the way he brought up the cheesy thing, though, because when they changed over from the show Justice League to Justice League Unlimited, in Unlimited, they actually referred to themselves as the Justice League Unlimited. They added that word onto
that's lame.
Yeah, I mean, I think they only did it like 2 or 3 times because they're just like, yeah, maybe I don't like this, but it did happen, and I saw Paul's point in at least that.
Yeah, it would. I mean, like, because this is a very, like, from what we're looking at, it's the tones are very serious, and to have it like, well, yeah, Batman could go and do this alone, it would be an awesome movie, or Superman could just fly in and punch him. It's like, maybe you don't even want to bring up the names, and it's like, you call the Justice League, they could just like, hey, Raish, you're in that city there, boom, gone. And it's just like, Superman could pretty much just lift up the city and throw it into space.
Right.
I mean, like,
right.
And it's like,
we don't want anybody.
Yeah, you don't want that, like, you don't want that, like,
I mean, this
Flash could have just run up and punched him, it's like, or, like, Hawkgirl would have just, like, thrown her mace. It's like, well, yeah, but it's more about the human struggle on Bruce's side. And
right.
It's
also established that Batman was the one who saved the world from the near apocalypse. This is actually known to the world.
Right.
They know about this.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would it be... Now, I'm just throwing this out there. Just hit me just now. Feel free to shoot it down. But would it be too much to create circumstances where Raish knows about the Justice League? And, like, of course Raish knows about the Justice League, but Raish has created a situation where the Justice League can't interact. Somehow he didn't get to Batman, but maybe Batman, apart from saving the world, also has to save Superman, the Flash, yada yada yada.
Even if it's not with them knowing it.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of one of those things.
I was thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about somehow, like, my thought on it was maybe Ra's al Ghul actually contacted Batman at some point and said, I have something aimed at the Justice League Watchtower, and if you attempt to contact them about this, I will shoot it down.
That's a really easy way to write it out, though. That's simple, and I like it.
The thing is that I really didn't want to bring that. I feel like that element, it really feels forced. Like we're trying to, like.
You're right.
I mean, it was like.
You're right.
We don't want the Justice League as a whole to be a part of this story. This is a Batman movie,
right?
Wait,
and it's like how earlier I asked a question about, like, are we wiping out the animals? Forget that. If we don't ever mention animals or show animals, the people watching this movie from start to finish with a visceral experience, they're not going to think about, are the animals being wiped out, if we don't mention it. So maybe you're right. If we just don't mention the Justice League, people will just stick in their minds that it's a Batman movie, and
it's like, I mean, I'm thinking the little thing with the I pretty much came up with this while we were doing this, is that the thing with, like, if like, Batman does not want to risk
putting them
it
in
right
line of fire. Well, wait.
And actually, this goes back. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
This goes back especially to Return of the Joker. This is how we have to do this, because in Return of the Joker, he said, I'm never going to endanger another person again in this. I am alone in this risk.
That's right.
This was the reason that he left the Justice League.
Okay.
This is why he doesn't want to bring them into it now. He knows they can handle themselves, but he does not want to risk their lives.
Well, what you could do, perhaps have, you said you have the Clock King. I don't know who that is, but...
Listen to episode 3 and we'll explain it.
Well, so a little thought I had. Maybe one of the other bad guys brings up the possibility, what if Batman isn't alone? And even if we're not, saying like, oh man, what if Superman comes and punches us? What if Batman isn't alone? And this is after the whole, we can't, bring them into this. Mm-hmm. If we lose them, then all hope is lost. Maybe Raish says something like, he knows the risk, he wouldn't do that. In reference to Batman. I know Batman well enough to know that he's not going to put them in that sort of position. I think that would be a really good explanation as to why they're not there.
And that way we don't have to spend time in Batman's head with that situation. Raish can write that whole subject off for us.
Well,
with that
I think it would be kind of cool if you have sort of both of them.
Yeah,
I like the
conclusion. I like the sort of dialogue that Batman had on it, and then Raish
more elaborates on it.
Yeah,
and it shows that not only has Batman thought about the situation, the antagonist has as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe not all of them, but Raish knows his opponent well enough to know what they will not do.
Right.
And it's like, we have to remember when we're writing for Raish, Batman is the greatest detective in the world. A very close second is Ra's al Ghul.
And he knows Batman is that good.
And if Raish is trying to pull off this situation and has been for years, he's premeditated about where the Justice League's going to be.
Exactly. I mean, he was able to find out who Batman was. Having never met him, he just looked at a list of names, cross-referenced some data, and said, Bruce Wayne. I mean, that's...
Who in Gotham is rich enough to afford everything?
That was exactly how he found out. He knew some of the gadgets that Batman possessed, and he said, well, obviously Batman has to be very wealthy. Who in Gotham would be able to amass
able
that?
And willing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's one of the things we've you've got to have Raish showing on at least one or two occasions that he knows Batman as well as Batman knows him.
I have a question. Did Nolan invent the... Is he the originator of how... Okay, you know how in Batman Begins...
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't see
it. It starts out with fucking, Raish in the League of Shadows training Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an origin for Batman Begins, or is that adapted from something else? Like in the world of comics and DCAU, were Raish and Bruce ever friends before Batman?
No. Ra's al Ghul and Bruce Wayne actually met in the Batcave.
That's right. Okay, yeah, you just said that earlier.
Yeah, so they meet beforehand. I think the whole Ra's being the one who trained Batman was actually entirely original to Batman Begins. I don't think that had ever been done before in a comic. I could be wrong because they've done pretty much everything in the comics.
Well, I mean, it sort of makes sense for that to be an original, because with that being the first movie of a reboot, like, that would be a way to surprise the audience.
Yeah, definitely.
And keep a story self-contained with like character changes and stuff. But
yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was a pretty good idea for that too, because that not only with the whole like I trained you so I can beat you up, but he wanted Batman to kind of be his successor in multiple aspects, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Right. He wanted to induct Bruce into... Wait, are we talking about Nolan, Ra's, or...
Well, I was just kind of being, kind of generalized with it. Because I know that he did want to didn't he want like Batman to be kind of a successor in the comics?
Yes, this actually goes through all of these, the comics, the Nolan movies, and the DCAU. Ra's al Ghul wanted to equalize the world. In the Nolan movies, he wanted to bring society back down to a manageable level. In the DCAU and in the comics, he wanted to bring humanity back down to a manageable level. But he realized he was not going to be able to do it in his own lifetime. He wanted somebody to carry it on. In all three cases, Batman was the only one that he saw as worthy of carrying on his name. Or not his name, but his work.
Yeah. And I like the idea because he, like you were saying about earlier, how he viewed Talia as being kind of a hindrance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, not only for like we were having a crisis of self type of moment for Batman himself, for Batman, we could do something similar with Talia. She's like sort of like after her father kind of disowns her, maybe she views herself as being like weak, like he sort of told her that she is, and maybe she wants to. Not necessarily make it up to him, but make it up to herself. She won't be that weak again, and that's why she's helping Batman.
That is a good point, except for that contradicts our ending.
I don't know how it ends.
How it ends, and you can cut this out.
Spoilers!
We've already explained this on the podcast, but I'll give you a quick.
But I mean, we don't need to cut it out. Like, people need to expect things are going to be repeated a lot.
But basically, a short version of the ending is the setup for the Batman Beyond episode Out of the Past.
I haven't seen it.
Basically, in Out of the Past, it's, 30 years after this whole movie happens, and as it turns out, Ra's al Ghul is still alive after this near apocalypse of 2009. However, he only survived by inhabiting Talia's body, killing her and taking over the body. By transferring his mind.
So Talia can help Bruce up to the climax.
Right. But basically what happens is that when Batman finally does defeat Ra's al Ghul, Ra's will be sitting there dying. Basically what happens, this Abaddon serum, Batman manages to get it into Ra's bloodstream, and it can't kill him because Ra's has been affected by the Lazarus pits for so long. Matter of fact, I'm thinking for the fight scene that he actually falls into the Lazarus pit at one point and comes out as insane, supercharged, and that leads that's a big thing in the final fight, is that he will be fighting with the entire power of the Lazarus pit under his command. But anyway, so he does defeat Ra's. He gets the Abaddon serum into his bloodstream, and it can't kill him. But what it does do is it makes the Lazarus pit now useless. He can't use it anymore, and he is going to die of old age. Batman will not have killed him, but old age will. And it's going to happen quickly because of...
Yeah, because of his advanced age anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's 600. But,
Speaking of him being 600, I had an idea earlier when you just said that, but just as a small tidbit, we should find out something notable that happened in the year, 1419 or something, and just have Ra's mention it. Back when I was a boy and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Just something to note how old he is. Just
or maybe
a
he met...
point.
Yeah, he met somebody particularly famous. Perhaps he knows what happened to the Roanoke colony that disappeared in the 1600s. Who knows? But that's a good idea.
Yeah, I do like that, to, let the viewer know just how much, how old he is.
How much of history he's personally witnessed.
Yeah,
plot twist, he was the guy who told Hitler what to do.
I think they already had that, didn't they?
That was Vandal Savage.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, it was Vandal Savage in
in
an episode of Justice League.
Either way.
Wasn't he also Napoleon or something? And he was like Caesar.
He actually was Napoleon.
And he was Julius Caesar. He was a bunch of people because he started out as like a caveman or something. Anyway,
Either way, it'd be a sweet reveal that Raish was behind something that nobody knew about.
That'd be cool. But so good point. I'm glad we got that. But anyway, Raish defeated, sitting there dying.
yeah.
Now Talia gets up. Batman turns to leave, and Talia starts to go with him. But then Raish calls out to Talia, and Talia turns to him and sees what's going on. And she turns to Batman and is like, "I have to. He's my father. I owe him this." And then Batman's like, "What are you talking about? You don't owe him anything. He's betrayed you multiple times. Look at everything he's done." And Talia says, "What if it was your father?" And Batman,
I was actually just thinking that.
And Batman gets really angry. He's like, "How dare you compare my father to that madman? Fine. Take your leave, Miss Al Ghul," referring to her by her last name. And that's the falling out that causes him not to see Talia for 30 years. But yeah, and she goes to him, and he says, "The Lazarus Pit can't help me, but take me to the machine," which has been referenced earlier in the movie somehow. "Take me to the machine. It'll transfer some of your life force to me, and then you can use the Lazarus Pit by proxy. Or I can use it by proxy through you." And she says yes, she wants to save her father. What she doesn't know, and what he has not told her, is that the machine does not actually transfer life force. It actually transfers minds. And he says something to the tune of, "I've had you betray..." That's not how he talks. I had it written how he talks.
Yeah.
But, "You have betrayed me far too many times for me to allow you to continue living. I must continue." This is something that I have it written down, and the dialogue's a lot better than I can recall from my head. But
I actually, because even before you brought this up, I had like kind of a thought, possibly something to the tune of, referencing that her weakness is actually his salvation, because she was weak enough to, go to him to grant his dying wish rather than just leave with Bruce.
this is a good point.
Saying something about, because in the beginning, your weakness is a hindrance.
Mm-hmm.
Your weakness is my salvation.
I like that. Well, we have to use that.
All right. Are you done explaining the ending?
No. Let me finish this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, Talia is struggling in the machine. She can't get out, having realized halfway into the process that it's going to kill her. And she finally says, "Batman will defeat you. Now, I won't live to see it, but he will make you pay for the atrocities." And he simply replies, "The disrespectfulness of an unruly daughter. I won't miss it."
Isn't that brilliant?
Goodbye, Talia.
That's great.
And she closes her eyes, and her last thought is of her and Bruce eating pheasant in Milan, and he said, and
that's great.
And she says, "Goodbye, beloved," to Bruce, but then, and Bruce doesn't know that any of this has just happened. he's busy leaving. And then, it's the machine says mind transfer complete. And you see Talia's eyes open, but like with Raish's evilness behind them. It's just like, it can't be physically his eyes, but you can tell it's not Talia anymore.
Yeah.
And she picks up her gun and starts running, calling after Bruce. Wait, come back. And she's got her gun behind her back, waiting to get close enough to shoot him. And he just looks at her, kind of gives her a scowl, and flies away. And then as he's got his back turned, flying away, she pulls her gun. She's trying to line up the sights, and the shot's too far away. She just kind of smiles. Until next time, then, detective.
Nice.
I thought it was a really good ending. We're gonna have to cut all this out because we just explained this episode.
But it's fine. And plus, like, dude, stuff has got to get repeated. And I'm sure anyone who checks out this podcast everyone's going to listen from episode 1 on. So it's totally fine to repeat everything. Plus, we're at the end of this episode anyway because I have to work a double tomorrow, so I have to go to bed soon. And plus, we got a lot of good ideas out. And I don't want us to like run out of fuel. I like to end the episodes when, like, after we've got a bunch of good shit out, think about. And like give us something to think about. And we'll be back next week to build upon this.
Okay, and we've got next week we got to do our damn paragraphs. We got to go kidnap Sean's ass and bring him here in chains with his paragraph and read it to him.
But Paul, your presence is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
You have a lot of good things to say. I'm sure you'll be here again for another one of these.
I hope so.
Until next time.
Swear to me.
Swear to me!